James, thank you so much for joining us. I thought I was going mad while trying to make calls during load shedding, and you can't hear anyone, the calls keep dropping. So is there a certain connection between load shedding and poor signal connection?
Yeah, that's exactly the question we tried to answer in the office this week. What happened is, what cellular providers told us is that they've got battery capacity for about 6 to 12 hours. And if load shedding goes over that hours, the cellular network goes depleted or goes cancelled, so which means you can't actually make any phone calls during that time. But the bigger risk is that if load shedding continues indefinitely, then these batteries will actually never be able to recharge, which will keep the cellular network down for longer.
Now, James, we are paying customers, and we've paid and bought airtime to stay connected. What recourse do we have in such instances where, because of load shedding, now we can't stay in touch or make calls?
I think cellular networks are sitting with the same frustration you are, and the fact that they want to provide a service, yet they are handicapped by Eskom, which is not providing reliable power. MTN said they spent 100 million rand the past year to secure their cellular network towers, and what actually happens during load shedding is that the amount of crime and vandalism at these towers double, or nearly doubles, which means that they have to deploy extra security teams to these stations, which also ultimately affects the cellular network. For you, a consumer, I think your options are very limited. You have to hopefully ensure that the power gets on quicker, or get someone a Wi-Fi signal or battery pack to get connected to the internet.
Now, you mentioned 100 million rand that they've now had to spend in order to secure the towers. What other measures have been put in place to ensure that we stay connected?
So Cell that I spoke to the past week, they mentioned that on a typical day, they experience about 15% of vandalism across their network. So 15% of their network is typically affected by vandalism on any given day. On a load shedding day, that actually increases to 30%, which means 30% of the network on any given day is affected by vandalism thanks to load shedding. What Cell said they've done is they've obviously deployed additional security and also battery packs. But what happens as soon as load shedding ends, several of these towers have been vandalized, which cause load shedding to just go on, or the effect to the cellular network just to go on longer. MTN itself said they also had to deploy additional security, as I've mentioned before, and also institute generating and battery pack capabilities.
Now, lastly, when you've been speaking to these cell phone networks, seeing that this might be an ongoing problem, how do they forecast dealing with this in future?
It doesn't seem like they've got a plan at the moment. I think everybody's holding their thumbs to hope that power gets restored as soon as possible. The difference between load shedding, typical load shedding, stage 2 load shedding, and stage 4, which was implemented the past week, is that the time period that a cell phone network has, or the cell phone tower has to run on a battery pack is nearly double, which means that battery packs becomes depleted, and obviously the security at those towers become a crisis as well. So I think everybody's scratching their heads, trying to think of solutions, but we have to hope for the best at this moment.
Thank you so much for that update, Bill. As we all try and stay connected, that was Business Insider reporter James de Villiers keeping us abreast with that story.